The zodiac is a map of the body, and I'm going to show you the way that the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, show what we would kind of consider like mind or our thinking processes. They happen in a few different parts of our body in a conversation, and the way that they interact is shown in the way that the zodiac is. So right now I have the houses aligned to Virgo. So Virgo is the first house, and then we'll carry on from that point. So that's Libra is the second house, Scorpio the third, Sagittarius the fourth, and so on. So right now we're just going to focus on the four axis points, like the cardinal points basically, of the mutable signs when you align them together. So I'm just going to keep spinning them around and showing you how the different parts of the body create our mind. So let's start with the most recognizable place. So there's Gemini, which is the brain, or the two halves of the brain, right? So there's two different brain parts, chunks, right? And they have different specializations, and they exist in a conversation to one another. So Gemini also represents the lungs, which is doing the exact same things. You have the two lungs, which are breathing in and out, and they are working in conversation to one another. And Gemini also rules the hands, so that has the same quality to it. So your two hands are working in conversation to one another. So all those three things together rule the Geminian part of the mind, right? And then you have a Virgo, my beauty, rules the intestines or the gut. And the gut has like gray matter in it and a lot of nerves in it. So people commonly call it the second brain. However, this language, it refers to it as the first brain, like the thinking experience, the consciousness experience originated in the gut as far as our evolutionary experience goes. And that makes a lot of sense. Like it's a big old worm, basically. And that is part of the entire evolutionary tree for everyone, right? And so between Virgo and Gemini is like the three brains, essentially. So your gut is thinking, but it has like a certain resonance of thinking that is different to the Gemini, the two halves of your brains, your two hands, your two lungs, right? And then the other two side of it, this is what I find to be so beautiful about the zodiac and the way this language works. So you have Sagittarius, which it rules like the hips, right? And like that part of your physical motion, the pelvic floor as well. But it also rules the spinal cord. So like the thick cord of nerves that's on the inside of the spine, the bones of the spine. And when you move your hips, when you walk, when you dance, when you're just moving around, anything that you're doing, especially moving your hips, while you're moving your hips, your hips, the movement of them is moving your spine around, which is massaging your spinal cord. And also it massages your gut, right? And and I'll show Pisces next. So Pisces is so beautiful. It's the vagus nerve. And so it's kind of like a nerve system that branches like through all of your organs, and it wraps around all of your organs. And that's these blue lines here Just kind of drew them in. It looks like a mycelium. It looks like tree branches, roots, it's like a root system that wraps around everything, and it connects everything all the way up to the brain, all the organs to the brain. But the communication, it's like most of it is going towards the brain. So the vagus nerve is it's like the collection of all of the organ information, right? All of the gut thought information. The vagus nerve is how the thought of the gut is being communicated directly to the brain, right? And so I find to just be so beautiful about this way that this language works. Here, let's maybe erase some of these lines to make it easier to see, right? Is that everything is about the conversation of it, right? So here I have the zodiac, like we're aligned to Virgo as the first house. And so the way that the zodiac shows how thinking works is your gut is here, right? And it's processing, like literally what you eat, what you have eaten, what you've nourished into the world. But what's very interesting about the gut is that it's like kind of at the mercy of the rest of the body in a really significant way. Like the lungs, right, of Gemini, how you breathe, it's going to determine the health of your gut. Right? And then also, look at this. I love this. Sagittarius, the hips right here. Your gut is resting. Literally, this is the foundation point. Your gut rests here, right here, on your hips, right? And the movement of the hips is being moving around your gut, right? And then look at this. This is so neat. So the spinal cord is going all the way up to Gemini, the brain, like right here in the middle. It's like an arrow, the long arrow of the inner body, right? And so, yeah, and then we'll add Pisces, right? So how this is kind of showing is like the gut, it rests on the hips, and its primary relationship is with the vagus nerve. That's what the seventh house is. The primary relationship with the rest of the zodiac. So that's the vagus nerve here. That's how the gut is interacting with the rest of the thought system, the mind system, the thinking, logic, communication network that is our whole body. And includes the entire nervous system. And the nervous system is ruled by Gemini, right? I just find this to be so beautiful. It's like the way that you move your body, the way you move your whole everything is communication. It is thinking. Your dancing is thinking. Your being is thinking. Your breathing is the way that you are thinking, right? And I want to point out this other point where Pisces also, it rules the crown of the head and the bottom of the feet, and like all of the feet, but especially the bottom of the feet. And so what this whole body map is really showing is that like Pisces, it's like, energy. It flows into you and it flows up your body from the ground, from the earth, right? And it flows up through your crown. And the purpose of looking at the body in this kind of way is to like, you are a root system, a woven together root system that is literally also part of the world. And I feel like this is necessary to understand how this whole language describes the concept of mind, like how we would maybe say it now, is like you are literally an extension of the earth, and as you walk along the earth, you conduct its energy up through your feet, all the way through your body, up, and it goes out to the crown of your head. And this is actually the gut's primary relationship. This is the seventh house, kind of what it really fully means. Like its primary relationship, like you could map it out physically, is to the vagus nerve. But what this language is describing is like the gut's primary relationship is to you feeling grounded. Like actually, like grounded, like electricity needs to be grounded. Like your body, your mind is literally conducting the electricity of thought across the system, the woven system of your body up, and you're conducting it regardless. Like you're a little walking flame of life, and it's moving through you. We evolved to ground our energy, literally ground our energy, right? It's also so beautiful about this language, where like the foundation of the gut is Sagittarius on the hips, and so that rules like also the tip of the spinal cord here. And so when you sit down cross-legged, in that kind of like classic meditation pose, you're like connecting your root, literally the root of your like thought system, your mind system, right, to the ground, to the grounding electricity, right? And that it flows both down out of you and up through you, right? And it like massages you, the consciousness that is inside you, to resonate with that energy. And our body is literally a map of that. It is grown to do that. And the more we dance and move and walk and ground ourselves into the energy of the earth, the easier it is for our mind to feel in conversation with itself. Because our mind is yes, our brain. It's our gut. Your gut knows stuff. Your gut knows stuff. It has learned in a very intentional and like thoughtful and logical and meticulous way that is so descriptive of this sign of Virgo. Like your gut is taking apart all of the stuff piece by piece that you eat, and you're like, okay, well, I need this much of this nutrition, and so I'll take it apart for here, and it's going to go over there, and I'm going to send it out. Like it's that's a lot of thinking, right? And so what you eat, right, is part of that. It's like, and we know that, like you drink a coffee, and then your mind feels really like, you're moving really quickly, you're thinking really quickly. Or maybe you've meditated a lot and drank a lot of tea, and so you're moving very, very slowly, Maybe you just really worked out, and so your mind feels like fresh, right? Because you just massaged all of the stuff through your body. It's beautiful. Beautiful. And I'll keep going. I want to show you another part of this. So let's look at this business from another angle. And so I'm going to move the houses, actually, or move the signs. around. Where are we going? Where should we go? Yeah, let's go to Pisces because we're talking about grounding. There you go. Maybe move it up for the satisfaction of all the people who just really love Virgo, you know, like myself. And okay, so did you see what happened there? I'll draw it up for you. So right here, we need a new business. We need a new business somewhere. There you go. Right here. Oh, where are we? Oh, there's no color. I guess I'll just maybe edit this part out. Okay. Yeah, so right here. Is Pisces. Now we've moved. We've gone all the way around 180 degrees. So Pisces was here before. We moved Pisces all the way around to here, essentially. So, yeah, this is like kind of like, it's like the map to this other mind, which is the mycelium web of your mind, the antenna of you. And it's, I think it makes life make so much sense to me looking in the world this way, because like you are a literal antenna for energy, like quite literally. That is a very proven fact. Bodies conduct electricity, and touching the ground is good for you. You know that, right? Everybody knows that. And so Pisces is like, you are literally, look at you, a radio antenna. Woo! You got your little radio tower, you know, picking up signals from all around. But you're also sending them out. It's your little radio tower. It's kind of what it means in a way. And I think why meditation is so good for us, because we pick up so much information. You pick up so much information from the world, and it's really important to give especially this part of ourselves, time to process, like being alive. Just quiet time to process being alive, right? And so it's like being like meditation in a way is like you're kind of like tuning in to this and just like passively in a very Piscean way, but very active. That's the first house. You're being actively listening to this passive part of the world, right? Which is all the energy of all the everything, right? And the foundation of it is Gemini, which is your breath and your breathing, the lungs, right? And even your hands too, you know, like people do hand symbols while they're meditating. And we know, right, that meditation is like, it's literally good for your digestion. It's good for the gut. And it expands your consciousness. It expands your mind. And another thing that I find really fascinating about this language is that like the foundation, wherever is the fourth house of the sign alignment that we're looking at, this is the foundation right here. So the foundation of meditating into your antenna is the breath. And the primary relationship that becomes is literally digesting in a way. You're just quietly digesting the world, all of the things, all of your radio antenna, mind experience. But look at this. Sagittarius is the goal. So the 10th house is always like the thing that this process, wherever you started at the first house, it works towards the goal, the climax, the success of the goal. So grounding in the foundation of your breath and digesting your world experience, body experience, at the mercy of everything, is going to make energy move up your spinal cord, quite literally, up your chakras. Just draw them over here. You know, you got a chakra here. There's another chakra here. Oops. Where am I? There you go. Let's go to the top. Yeah, chakra there. Another chakra there. I hope I'm not forgetting any of them. That would be so funny. 3. Anyways, you know, there's a couple of them. Right? And so you meditate here in your breath, and you initiate the antenna. Woo! And you found root in your breath. Get to like actually kind of like surrender. That's what the 7th house always means. Like surrender to the victory of being at the mercy of digesting the world at a quiet and slow and continual and always pace, right? And that goal makes energy slowly but surely literally move up your chakras. Very neat. Very neat. Isn't that cool? Anyways, whomst ever made this knew some stuff. Our ancestors, oh man, they knew some stuff, didn't they? I'm so grateful to benefit from all of the work they did to understand everything, because they really understood how the world worked. Because I'm just going to add to this one a little bit. I've been thinking about, you know, this whole process in another way, which is like how your emotional relationship to this particular process works, right? So you have your antenna, right? And you pick up things from the world. So you have a choice, essentially, in every moment. And looking at it from this angle of the choice, this first house, you know? The first house is always the choice, the eternal choice of action to be, right? So the first house of Pisces, the first house, that's you. You're your antenna. You got energy coming up through your body. If you choose to pay attention to it, if you choose to pay attention to the fact, undeniable fact, we are all one, right? It really does come back to that. You're like, oh, I'm actually a sprout, a beautiful sprout of the world, you know? And I get to just be humble in that experience and accepting that. That's a choice. Listening, what it really means, it is your antenna is always very actively, passively happening to you in the background, and you can choose to actively listen to that thing. It always feels like it's very passively happening in the background. All this information that you're picking up, and it's digesting around in you, your mycelium network of your vagus nerve and your crown and your chakras and your toes and everything, the whole thing, your fingertips coming together. It's one big conversation of you are picking up a lot of information from the world. This also suggests, you know, like you're picking up like radio waves, like there are vibrations of the world. People are giving off vibrations, they're giving off energy, they're giving off vibes. And that's why we use that word, because it is actually, you know, quite a scientifically accurate description of what is literally going on. It's like people resonate, and they resonate energies. Energy, electricity, sound. They move through the world. Their current, their movement through the current is affecting you. You can feel it through the ripples. That's really what Pisces is about. And you can accept that and choose to actively listen to the world is alive, and I am part of it. So what happens when you make that choice? So we'll start with that choice. And you move to, this is the next thing that happens right here. Aries, second house. Compassion. Your empathy, which is always happening. You're always empathizing. You always have it happening, the empathy of the antenna, regardless of whether or not you pay attention to it or not. Your body is still resonating with electricity, with energy, with stuff. Being in conversation with the whole mind of us all, right? The collective unconscious, perhaps, is a maybe popular way to describe this concept. If you choose to listen, if you choose to, empathy becomes compassion. It's an action. Compassion is an action. You choose to do the thing. I am choosing to actively listen to you or to me. That's how you have compassion. I choose. It's a fierce Aries energy, right? You're the warrior of belief. You are the monk, right? Who is fighting, the warrior monk who meditates themselves into divinity, right? But they also protect people with fierce compassion and train in that kind of way. So then that can become like, after that, we're going to move to Taurus, which is the third house. And Taurus is like your pace. And it's like you get to have a slow pace in your mind. Or it's kind of like you're able to just relax into your own pace. Like the anxiety is gone. There's just you in here, in the chatty of your minds. Sometimes it's fun and chatty, but you're able to listen down into the quiet registers of me and the quiet registers of other people, and just kind of see that everyone in your neighborhood, that's the third house, kind of neighborhood, sibling relationships, it's everyday stuff. People you're talking to at the store, you're like, oh, they're going their own pace too. That's beautiful. They're over there. You know, they have their own life. Isn't that nice for them? And then, move on to the fourth house. It's Gemini. And so this is like the foundation of what this choice will give you, which is like creativity in your mind. The fourth house is the moon, Cancer energy, which is creative. You have space in your mind to feel into the root of you, and bring it up into the world, into your mind, and be conscious of your creative energy. It's like, it has like a flow to it. And then, which really moves us to Cancer, which is the fifth house, which is like you're able to, like the sun, like the fifth house, you're like, I can cry when I need to. I can share my inner self with the world. I can, here is me. I can show you who I am openly, and I can just have my emotions as needed and be open compassionately with them, because I know how to share my inner world because I've come in touch with it, and I feel this peace with you, over there going your own pace. And so me right now, I'm going my own pace, and sometimes that means crying, right? Laughing, hugging somebody, being tender. You can be openly tender. So the next one we'll move to is Leo, the sixth house. And that's like, you get to be you every day. You get to be openly, this is me every day. The sixth house, that's Virgo energy. So that's your everyday rituals and habits. And Leos are like, this is me, my personality. You get to share your personality every single day. And also get to like create. Like Leo is also very creative. It has like a bit more of a playful energy to it where you're like, now I have the ball of fire in my hands and I get to tinker with it every day. Of the creativity that is me, that is the world, that is just like, this is who I am. And I get to interact with other people. And then we'll move on to Virgo, which is the 7th house. So that's like your relationship with other people becomes one of like, you can really give service to people, which is in a way like the most divine foundation of how this language describes us being divine, just life being alive and divine. Virgo was like the plants of the world, all of the nature, and it just gives its body so generously to the life, the living. We do that. And that's like what your intestines do. It's really at the mercy of the rest of your body. How you move your arms is going to move around your ribs, which will determine how your lungs move in and out. And that will give space for your gut, right? Maybe you do a little wiggle around. It's going to move your gut. It's at the mercy. The world, like you, like everyone else, is at the mercy of it. And being able to recognize that because you've had the choice of compassion gives you the space to be like, recognize when it is your turn to fulfill the role of giving service and feeling comfortable to surrender to the beautiful experience of helpfulness and knowing when it's appropriate, because knowing how to listen with compassion, truly listen. And that starts with listening to yourself as you grow and sprout out the energies of the world up through your chakra arrow to the sky, right? And this will move on to 8th house, which is Libra. And the 8th house is, the 8th house is, it's very like, it's about like our private relationships and our private relationship with ourselves. Because with all of the beautiful communication that is existence and all of the ways that we can be in conversation, there's always this kind of secret, indescribable mystery of you that we really get to touch upon and open up and explore in the quiet, intentional moments with ourselves and in deep intimacy with other people, especially erotic, physical intimacy with other people, people fully sharing themselves with us. And Libra is balance, like being able to fully have the victory of surrender. Wherever Venus comes up, it's going to bring us the need to surrender. Surrendering to this, being so intimately open with another person and let yourself melt and merge and explore the very real depth of how much am I really one with the world? Because that's an incredible place for us to explore our we're all oneness. You get to really see it in the face. Wow, we really can learn how to resonate to the same melody and same tempo with our bodies, with our breaths, and have a balance to it, rocking back and forth, if you will. And this brings us to Sagittarius, or Scorpio, which is the 9th house. Sagittarius, Jupiter energy combined. So you have Scorpio, Jupiter, Pluto, Jupiter, So this is like when you're able to really have the beautiful victory of being able to just be open with people in all of these different ways, then it like transforms the way you see your direction in the world. And the Scorpio energy, the Pluto energy, like it's known for its focus. So like you are able to focus on your direction, because you're just one sprout among fields, infinity sprouts of people, of living beings, and you have your own pace and you have your own direction. And so you can focus on to the place where your Scorpio desires are taking you, want you to go. There's something else in the all, we are all oneness. And it's giving you urgings to go over there sometimes, and you're not sure why. When you learn how to meditate, you get to learn how to listen to the thing inside of you. This is you telling you, you're like, I anticipate opportunity over there. And the up here conscious Gemini brain might not have caught wind of it yet, but you need to learn how to listen, right? To your gut, to your breath, to your arrow of energy, to the sky, so that you can know, focus in on your direction, because you never know what's over there. It could be something incredibly beautiful, incredibly transformative, especially because that's why we're here on this earth. We're here to transform, to merge with other people, to melt into them. Consciousness is the universe, all of us being the universe looking at itself, And you get to focus on that. You get to be in that. And then this brings us kind of to like the success. That's the 10th house, the success of it all. And it's a party. And it's a party. That's what you get to realize. It's all divine joy. Oh my God, it's so fun on the earth. And you have a long life. This is also quite particularly what it describes. The 10th house means long stretches of time. And Jupiter also, it's like your direction. Like literally living with compassion makes you physically live longer, which is known. Like we know that, right? We know that being able to care for your body in this way is actually physically good for you. But it's like you get to dance the whole way. I mean, regardless of how many days that you are awake with your eyes open on this earth, like you get to dance through each of them because you know who you are. You are a beautiful little blossoming flower in the orchestra of life, surrounded by fields of beautiful blossoming flowers, and your glowing golds make my deep purples pop, and vice versa. It's all about conversation, transitions of roles, right? Conversation, the call and response of music making, of person making. And this will lead us to like Capricorn as the 11th house. Kind of as like a similar, in a way, kind of like a similar carryover of the concept, but it's like just having compassion for yourself, being able to have compassion for other people. People will trust you. People will trust you. People will trust you with important responsibilities. It's like a Capricorn energy is kind of like we kind of see people who are very much embody this type of energy as like, it's maybe like they are particularly inclined to be responsibility. It is also, we are all particularly inclined to rely on people who are known to be responsible. You can trust them. You become like a person of reputation. People come to you to be like, hey, you know stuff. Can you answer my question? You become like, like an elder. You become an adult. You become someone who is now responsible in a way for the care of us all because you know. Because you know how to do it. And so you can show other people, oh, now sit down with me and we will meditate together. You have to show people. That's very Capricorn, very Saturn energy. You have to do it until they know. It's very long-standing, patient kind of energy. You slowly build one step at a time. And this really brings me, I feel like it's like the whole climax of this whole expression, sentence, if you would, of this language. It's like the 12th house Aquarius. Aquarius is your intellect. It's your knowledge, you collect knowledge thoughts over time. So what is knowledge? You're like, there's facts, factoids, right? But that's not necessarily knowledge. Knowledge is like, you have experienced it and you have come to understand. You're like, no, you will burn your hand if you put it on the stove. You don't do that. I know that for sure. And those things, big and small, like, I know that if I don't apologize to my friend, they're not going to like me as much. Like, it will deteriorate the truth of that kind of, oh, we're all one connectedness of it. So you're like, oh, I know better. But you're also, intellect is also like, oh, I know what to do because I've tried. I've made the choice of compassion. I know what to do. And it gives your mind, your intellect, like space to kind of like infinitely grow. It can stretch as far as you could possibly imagine. And there is so much learning that is available to you in the world, especially that far as you could possibly imagine. That's like, this is the 12th house part of it. That's like Neptune on the bottom with Aquarius, Uranus on top, like infinite imagination of Pisces, infinite forever imagination. And because you've made the choice of compassion, that other people know stuff that you don't know. And that is the conversation of compassion. That it's okay that other people know stuff, and it's always an experience of humbly learning. That's what intellect really comes down to. Every single one of those things, burning your hand on the stove, apologizing to your friend, choosing to go out dancing because it's going to make you feel better, even though you feel a little bit crummy right now. And then you choose, and then you have a great time. You're like, oh, I'm so glad I chose, because I know, right, in my knowings, I have knowledge of me, of being alive. It gives you space to see other people as the infinite capacity to teach you more of those things. Because they know stuff. They've been experiencing it too, And I think maybe it's time to go to the next version of what happens when we kind of make these choices. So we'll start over again, the beginning of Pisces. So if you're at your radio antenna, we're at the beginning. If you choose to repress your truth, it comes down to, quite fundamentally, it's always the first choice of how do you need compassion? Why do you need compassion? You have to ask yourself. Because that's always, if there's anything standing in the way of choosing to have compassion, it's always, there's some hurt there. There is some hurt there. Absolutely. That's how it goes. But it's a choice. It's always a choice. Are you going to listen to yourself and choose to have compassion, which teaches you to listen to other people? And you can learn that from watching other people do it. You know? And if you choose to repress, like knowing the truth of that compassion is always going to be the way, it's always going to be the way, it's always going to be the right choice, then what happens next? Well, you live in delusion. That's what it is. Like, you're not connected to the actual information that is around you because of fear. It's like anticipating that something bad is going to happen, and it's like choosing to focus on anticipating that something bad is going to happen, and then going on these imagination fear spirals into infinity. And it's like that choice, that's always the option between compassion and listen to yourself and listen to the world, or listen to what if something happens? What if I lose something? You know? Do we choose to listen to the fear? What happens? Aries is the fighter. We accumulate this fear by protecting it, like quite violently, defending it. No, I'm defending the thing that I am afraid of. You can't tell me otherwise, right? And this makes, like, I find this to be so funny, the way that this describes it. It's like Taurus says everybody goes your own pace. Everybody's going their own pace. They're out there knowing stuff in the world. And going their own pace also means their pace might be a lot faster than yours. It might be a lot slower. They might know a lot more than you, and be able to see that maybe if you sat down for a minute and just listen to yourself for a second, you might see things differently than how you do right now. And that can feel incredibly threatening. So all the earth signs have this kind of like heaviness, but Taurus has kind of like it's associated with like the very universal human capacity to hoard things. It's like hoarding of things, like especially it's like hoarding knowledge, and I feel like is like the full expression of what this is really describing. Like literally trying to hoard facts and language and information out of fear. And having a very rigid relationship to what is considered words and facts and information. You know, like being very hard-headed about learning even the most smallest of details of something. And then it turns into Gemini, the root of it, the foundation of your breath, right? And your brain and your lungs. It's like you're having a hard time paying attention to your breath. You might be breathing up high in your chest, but also it's kind of describing your mind. It's like two chatty monkeys, and they can't stop filling your head with ideas, fearful ideas, and it's just running away from you forever into just endless spirals of thoughts. And you gotta love the two chatty monkeys, because sometimes they're having a great time. Sometimes they literally are writing the most beautiful fanfic of like Avatar Shakespeare on a typewriter. But sometimes they're going on a horrid fear spiral and they don't shut up. And if you choose to just focus on the thing that is fear, the mind, it can't stop talking. It's always going, it's always going, it's always going. And it's like that is the place, right? That's the foundation of this. So you can root into that and you're like, why am I thinking this? I need to pay attention to myself. I need to listen to something. My mind is so full of things right now. We keep choosing to defend our fear, though. What does this turn into? Your Leo expression of self, your fifth house expression of self, turns into like a hard shelled persona. The crab, Cancer, the crab. You have a hard shell around you. You can't share any of your inner self with other people. It's too terrifying. What if they hurt you? Your soft, inner, gushy insides of feelings and emotions. You know, what if they hurt you? And then this turns into, it's also kind of like not crying, you know, like having a very difficult time crying, or like maybe crying too much and you can't tell where it's coming from. And then we'll turn this into the sixth house of Leo again. That was before it was like every day you could just be your own self and it's so lovely, right? But if you don't choose compassion, it's like no one's listening to you, but you know, even though you're trying to avoid knowing, that somebody needs to listen to you, and it's definitely you. It's definitely you are the one whose attention is being called. However, we can turn into like bombastically taking up all of the space, all of the time with our drama, with me. I can't handle talking about anybody else or anybody else's things. I always have to be the center of everything, all of the time. And this turns into Virgo as the seventh house, which is like being very critical of other people. Can't surrender to the divinity of service if you're afraid of giving your whole body to the everything oneness. If you're too afraid of losing something or not paying attention to what's going on, not being able to be like, yeah, I need compassion. And so this can turn into this, our relationship with other people, our seventh house relationship with other people. It's very critical. I was like looking for details about them, you know, this thing's wrong and that thing's wrong and you didn't do this. No. You know, it's like, but you're doing it to yourself too. Because that's all of these things, we're projecting it out into the rest of the world. We're not listening to us. So we're going to massively project the message that we're trying desperately, our body, our whole consciousness is trying so desperately to get us to listen. So instead of listening, we're just going to broadcast it out into the world in a big old cry. And realistically, you know, it is definitely just part of the human learning process. We're so beautiful. Look at us go. Because everybody does this. Oof, everybody does this. You better believe every human person listening to this video is like, oh, sometimes I fear, right? So what does it turn into the eighth house? In our private moments, our private thoughts, in our intimate relationships? Unbalance. Like really unbalanced power dynamics, or the feeling of having no choice. you don't have any choice in the world, and you're trapped there in the no choice place, in the place of having no power in order to choose compassion. It's and Scorpio 8th house energy can like kind of talks about the way that we can really resonate with like resentment. So we might like really wallow here and kind of like fester into our resentments of like all of like really interpersonal power dynamics, and this was unfair and that was unfair, and it's true. It's true. All of those things are true. It's okay. It's okay to move through it. It's okay to feel self-advocacy. That is part of the compassion process, is be like, yes, it was unfair. However, this thing that is calling inside of me for someone to listen, I am the first person who can and always ever can. The only first person who could ever listen to this call. It's going to be me. But when we don't make that choice, it feels like we can never get that compassion from anyone. And so other people are like these, we have this incredible constant power dynamic with literally all other human people, because it's like they're always blocking us from making the choice of having compassion, because we are trying so desperately to ignore doing it ourselves. Just listening. Oof, I needed that. I need to listen to me, you know. So move on to Scorpio as a 9th house. And so it's like very much a continuation of this theme. And Jupiter has like, and Sagittarius, it does have some like very like violent connotations to its energy, and so does Scorpio. There's this like fear of death, I feel like, is the most like succinct way to kind of like describe it, and like all of the things that come from fear of death, all of the ways that people will lash out into the world because they're afraid of dying. You know, Scorpio is very much, it's dying. Pluto, you die when you are transformed by knowing that the world is going to constantly transform you all of the time. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. God is change. But that's terrifying sometimes. It's so scary. It's so scary sometimes to know that this rebirth and death experience is actually constant. It's really quite constant. It is the thing that is always happening in the world through you all of the time. And so we like hold on to like, this is going to be my story of who I am. This is going to be my direction, and I'm going to succeed. And if I don't succeed in this direction of things, you know, you're trapped in this obsession of trying to know something in the inside and have like an opinion. It's very rigid opinions energy. So this really brings us to like the ultimate version of rigid opinions, which is like your whole life is now structurally built around your Sagittarius rigid opinions. That's Saturn, 10th house, structurally, physically built around not choosing to have compassion for other people. I mean, many of the buildings of the world could be traced back to this emotional experience in people, in human people, you know, like all the state houses, all the borders, all the prisons, you know. But even in ourselves, it's like you can actually, long term, longer you choose not have compassion for other people in the world, That is how your body shapes you. This is the body. Look, we're showing a map of the body, up and down, you know? Look at it. It's your emotions that are happening to you. It's your you choice. This cycle is the mind consciousness of you, the body, spirit, mind consciousness of you interacting with the world. And if you choose to listen and dance when you need to, like, you will dance that compassion into your body. If you do it over time, that is what your body will grow to be. Your muscles and your skeleton will grow into the shape of your dance through the world, the way you move. Is it with love? Has your body grown around love? So this could bring us to the 11th house, Capricorn. This has to do with authority. Again, it's like group authority. I demand respect. I demand people to respect my authority. People will respect your reputation and put you in a position of authority if they trust you. It will happen naturally if you are trusted. You can't force it on people. Build walls around them to make them do it. You have to just learn over a long period of time how to just be a person. Some people know stuff, right? Some people know stuff. I guess I really always keep coming back to this thing. The 12th house of Aquarius. Living without compassion literally represses your intellect. Living without compassion makes you dumb. Like, there's like actually no other way to describe this. I don't think. Because like other people know stuff. And like it's always the wibble wobble for us. This is like our biggest choice. Living with compassion or without compassion. Because living with compassion, it makes you smarter. You have infinite possibility of growth. The things you could learn. Oh, you're curious forever, right? If you're choosing to live in fear and repress your ability to learn information from the world out of fear, it actually makes you not able to learn things. Like, represses your ability to gain more and more and more knowledge. You have less and less and less space to fit stuff into your basket that's filled with fear. It's the human people, you know. Because we're really all like that. Both of them. We're really all like both of them. And I think like, I just kind of wanted to bring it back here where it's like the antenna, your radio antenna, you know, you got your signals. It's always happening. You're always picking up information. You're dreaming. Other people are dreaming. Your body is like having a conversation with itself. Send some signals in, some signals out. This is always happening. You always, in the constant experience of now, have effortless access to the private experience of choice, to experience compassion, which brings you back into feeling the power of what choice is. How much danger am I actually in? I find this world, this colonial way of being, this like delusional way of being. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Because this choice right here, like if you choose delusion, what happens? You kind of have to like justify. Oops. Yeah, you gotta justify why you are defending yourself. Because a part of you always knows the truth. The true you always knows about compassion. You have reincarnated many times. You know stuff. You also know how fun it is to be incarnated on Earth and go through the experience of making choices. So that's why you're here, learning with the rest of us and enjoying this beautiful journey. But this choice, like, if you choose to fight it, and you're like, nope, we are not all one. You have to justify it to yourself. You have to trick yourself. So what do you trick yourself with? The delusion of separation. The delusion of separation. It's not real. No things are separate. You know what else this turns into? Supremacy. Supremacy is delusion. There's no possible way for anything to be supreme over the other. We can have learned things and know that they work, right? But no human person is separated by their superiority to everybody else. You can't be supreme over everybody else. That's what that separation really comes from. So I really wanted to like bring it back into this because somebody made this language a really long time ago. People have known a lot of stuff and a lot of violence for the delusion of supremacy, the delusion of superiority, the fear of letting oneself surrender to the joy of humbly learning from another person's knowledge. So much violence. Whole cultures have been almost entirely wiped out. Some entirely wiped out. Millions of people have been killed. Languages destroyed because they have knowledge. Because they have knowledge. This is actually the reason why you don't want to learn stuff. And you can really easily just keep tracing it back. We kind of call this like, it's like greed. But greed comes from somewhere. It comes from fear. It comes from the fear of like being alone. That's always the fear. Am I going to be loved? Yeah. If you choose to listen to that desire, you should listen to it. And it will effortlessly and instantaneously happen by you doing it. And then you'll just open the whole world of possibilities. And it's like we the human people know that. You divinely know that. Yet why is so much of the world built around somebody's fear? Like, look at how much knowledge. This is knowledge. This is a lot of knowledge about the human body and how it works. Why don't we know this? Because of the delusion of supremacy. Compelled people, made people justified violence of trying to repress indigenous languages, indigenous ways of being, indigenous ways of thinking and seeing the world. All over the world. And repressing the knowing of, like, women. Really, in particular, that's a really big part of it. Women know stuff. Women know a lot of stuff. And you can just be part of the oneness in the blink of an eye. Just like accepting. You can be part of the infinite womb of love forever. Just humbly accepting that you don't need to know it all. And to me, like, I really relate to this. I have, I feel like I know some stuff. But all of the time. Still every day. I'm always like, I can't believe that person knew that before me. Like, even when I was coming to learn, like, this and, like, unraveling this whole puzzle equation thing, and when I came to the moment of realizing that, oh, they just wove baskets, I could not believe that I had spent, like, a decade obsessing over this question, and I didn't realize that. And the reason why I didn't realize that is because I was fighting the thing that I knew, because I didn't know if I was allowed to look at it this way, but I was fighting the thing that I knew, which is that this language was made by indigenous people. Everything about it. It's about relationships and harmonizing with the world. That disposition is required to create a language. Indigenous people made this. And I was like, concerned for my place in the world. Like, I wanted to be respectful, I guess. And I was like anxious about, I didn't know stuff. And so I was kind of repressing the thing that I did know, which is indigenous people made that. It's a lot easier to accept how this works and the incredible amount of knowledge that is in here. Just to accept. Indigenous people made this. Really, in particular, it looks like very matriarchal, very matrilineally focused cultures made this. All right. Well, that's the human body. So beautiful.